my friends, my name is Ichikonia and this is our project Death on Paper, and welcome to another video. Or if you're new here, welcome, I'm so happy to have you here. I make art related videos about bullying, childhood trauma, and living with borderline personality disorder and many other chronic illnesses that I personally deal with. Most of my videos are in the form of speed paints, but sometimes, like in this video, I'm here with my own stupid face. So hi, this is what I look like. Over the years, as I've been working on our project Death on Paper, Instagram has been my main social media platform, but now I am switching my focus onto YouTube. So if you don't follow me on Instagram already, please do. I post most of my art there and many other types of content, but because of the nature of Instagram as a platform, I've decided to switch my focus onto YouTube. So I'm making more videos and more stuff on here now than on Instagram for various reasons. But still, I think that you should totally follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Links to all of my social medias and other kinds of stuff will be in the description down below, so please go check those out as well. As I've been making more stuff on Instagram over the years, one of my most common types of content format that I've had has been monthly Q&A things. I've been posting on my Instagram stories, like the question stickers. I'll show you some of them here on the screen if you want to see what they look like, and they have been for the purpose of you guys wanted to ask me all types of questions. Those questions could be anything related to the art project itself and my art, its message, and then my personal opinions on everything related to bullying and childhood trauma. So yeah, this video is one of those. Over the years, I've been doing these monthly Q&As at the beginning of each month, just as a very low effort type of content format, which is that I've just been replying to the questions on my stories, like in like text like written format type of thing. But this is the first time that I'm making a Q&A video. And especially here on YouTube, so these will be a monthly occurrence from now on. So yeah, so in this video I'll be replying to the questions that you guys sent me over on Instagram a couple of days ago. The purpose of these Q&A videos and like me doing this monthly Q&A thing in general is to allow you guys to interact with me more on a personal level, and for you to get to know more about me as an artist and everything that I do in relation to our project Death on Paper, like my creative process and my art and its message, all of that kind of stuff. That's why I make these. So yeah, I hope you are excited to hear out some of my replies to the questions that you sent me a couple of days ago on Instagram. But before we do begin with the actual Q&A section of this video, I just wanted to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel and like the video. That would really mean a lot to me. Like I said, I'm making YouTube more of a thing right now. I'm really focusing a lot of my attention and my effort onto YouTube. So any type of support that you guys want to give me and my channel would really mean a lot to me. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much for the intro, so let's just get on with the actual Q&A section of this video. I've written my like the questions that you sent me on Instagram on my notebook, so I'll be reading them out here. I hope you don't mind that, but yeah, let's begin. Okay, so for our first question, we have a question in regards to bullying, because that's the main like meat and potatoes of everything that I make, my art and its message and all of the other types of social media content that I create. Most of my content has something to do with bullying because if you don't know my story in any type of way, I was a victim of severe and prolonged bullying for over a decade in my childhood, and that trauma led to the development of borderline personality disorder and many other mental illnesses and chronic illnesses that I deal with now as an adult. And that's the main focus of art project Death on Paper in general. I make a lot of educational content on bullying as a type of abuse, and I'll be making even more like different sorts of educational content on bullying here on my YouTube channel. So yeah, but the question that one of you guys sent me over on Instagram in relation to bullying goes as follows. Can we blame violent video games for causing people to bully others, and should they be banned? the video games? So this is a very interesting question. I'm glad that this person decided to ask me this, because I do have a lot of opinions on this. It is a very common, I want to say, a common misunderstanding that violent video games cause a lot of violent crime. I mean, we had this entire scare of violent video games like being the reason for things like school shootings and other types of violence, like when video games became like a very, very popular thing, like in the 90s and early 2000s. So this has definitely been a topic that we've had a lot of discussions in the public eye for the past few decades. So I'm happy that one of you guys wanted to ask me like my takes on this. For me personally, I generally feel like we shouldn't be blaming media for the way that people choose to act in their personal lives. This is not just like a video game sort of thing. This is also something to do with like violent movies and TV shows, and not necessarily books, but other types of literature, like for sure. Something about me personally, I used to go to university. I used to study Finnish and literature in university before I got ill in 2022. My goal was to become a Finnish and literature teacher before I got sick, and then I also toyed with the idea of becoming a literature translator. Like translating mainly Swedish speaking Swedish written literature into Finnish, because my other minor subject in university was Swedish. So yeah, I do have a lot of opinions on literature and linguistics related stuff because of that. I'm a huge literature and language nerd. That's why I went to uni to study all of that. So yeah, this is a topic that is very personal to me in that kind of way. But I generally feel like blaming media for the way that people choose to act in their personal lives is not really the way to go, because sure, media does affect the way that we perceive reality, and it can even affect like some of our personal values if that piece of media is really impactful to us personally. But I don't think that it's fair to blame like a huge section of like violent crimes onto just media, because for me personally, it's really about media literacy skills and your reading comprehension skills that we should discuss here more than the impactful nature of media itself. We should be aware of the fact that media is not supposed to represent like the reality that we live in 100%. And video games especially are a very immersive type of media, because you interact with that piece of media on a different sort of level when you are actually playing the video game and when you are an active participant in the storyline of that video game, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of nuance there to be had for sure. But I feel like we can't really blame like that piece of media for its impactfulness. In the history of Western literature, for example, there are some cases that like a piece of literature, like a novel or a short story that's been published has had a drastic impact on the way that the readers have behaved, like in their personal lives. One example of this kind of phenomenon that always comes to my mind personally as a literature nerd and as someone who had general literature as their major in university is the novel called The Sorrows of Young Werther. The author is called Johann Wolfgang Goethe, and this novel was published in English in 1779, so in the 1700s. That was a long time ago. This novel is sort of controversial for the way that it impacted its readers back in the day. there's this sort of, it's not a myth per se, because there are actual reported cases of this happening back then in the 1700s, but we can't really say like just how frequent of an occurrence this was back then. We don't really know the exact numbers of the potential victims, but there have been recorded cases of young men, especially, who read this novel back then and who ended up committing suicide because of it. If you don't know anything about The Sorrows of Young Werther, I wouldn't blame you, because it's a very, very old novel, and and if you don't really care about classic literature, then you probably haven't read it. I personally read it for my literature studies back then when I was in university. Also, just as a side note, I had to suspend my university studies, and I have since resigned from university altogether because of my health. In 2022, I got really sick, and I ended up being hospitalized multiple times that year, and I had to give up on my dream of becoming a Finnish and literature teacher because of my health. And that's why I'm here now. I'm here making all of this shit. I'm here making all of this art because of just how everything sort of cascaded into like a very, very major mental health crisis. So yeah, that's why I'm here. But back to the novel. The Sorrows of Young Werther is it's an epistolary novel that it's the story of this young man named Werther, who fell in love with a woman that was engaged, or at least involved with Werther's like friend or a relative. I'm not totally sure. It's been so long since I've read this book. It describes the sort of anguish, the mental anguish, and like emotional distress and sorrow that Werther had to go through because he was in love with this woman who was unable to reciprocate her feelings for him. So the novel ends with Werther committing suicide because of all of this, because of the mental anguish of being in love with a woman who was completely out of his reach for obvious reasons. And the actual suicide in the story is not graphic by any means, but it is sort of implied. And that's the baseline of the story, at least as far as I'm able to remember as of right now. Like I said, I read this book back then when I was in university. I think it was one of the first books that I ever read for my general literature studies. So that was around 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah, it's been a long time. I'm gonna read a bit of the plot summary for The Sorrows of Young Werther from the Wikipedia article for you guys, so that you can get more of an understanding, because my explanation probably wasn't all that good, because like I said, it's been so long. But just so you know more what I'm talking about when referring to this book as an example of how literature and media has been recorded to affect its consumers. So, The Sorrows of Young Werther, a story about a young man's unrequited love, is presented as a collection of letters written by Werther, a young artist of a sensitive and passionate temperament. Most of the letters are written to his friend Wilhelm, but additional details are at times provided by an unidentified editor. The letters give an intimate account of his emotional life during his stay in the fictional village of Walheim. There he meets Charlotte, a beautiful young girl who takes care of her siblings after the death of their mother. Werther falls in love with Charlotte, despite knowing before meeting her that she is engaged to a man named Albert, 11 years her senior. Albert returns to Walheim shortly thereafter. The plot summary ends with this paragraph right here. Werther has a tendency to suicidal ideation, and he makes pessimistic remarks about life in letters prior to having met Charlotte. Werther Werther himself recognizes the situation as being untenable and contemplates a double murder-suicide, but instead resolves to take only his own life. After composing a farewell letter to be found after his death, he writes to Albert asking for his 2 pistols, one the pretext that he is going on a journey. Charlotte receives the request with great emotion, anticipating Werther's suicide, and hesitantly hands the pistols to Werther's servant at Albert's command. Werther shoots himself in the head at his desk at midnight, is found at 6 the next morning, and is declared dead at noon. He is buried 11 hours later. Charlotte falls unconscious upon learning of his death, and the others fear for her life. Yeah. So that's the book, The Sorrows of Young Werther. It's a very interesting read. It was definitely one of my favorite books that I ever read in the university, as weird as that may sound, but maybe it's not as weird if you know anything about me and the fact that I have borderline personality disorder, especially the self-destructive subtype. So it was sort of relatable me in some fucked up way. But yeah, this novel has been recorded to have an impact on its readers back then in the 1700s. Like I said, it's not necessarily like a myth, because there have been recorded cases of young men who read this novel that actually did commit suicide because of it. But it's definitely not like any type of like mass suicide thing, or something that gets portrayed as like the suicide wave almost. It's not necessarily anything of that extent, but still, like there were recorded cases of young men who read the novel that did commit suicide because of it. However, I do want to say that it's not like that the novel itself was the reason that these people committed suicide. There is room to be argued that the novel did inspire the young men who read it to commit suicide in similar fashion to that of Werther himself. But also we do have to acknowledge the fact that somebody doesn't commit suicide just because they read about it on a novel. Like it's something that, like, if you get exposed to media of that sort of nature when you already have that kind of a mindset, that's when it becomes more, I want to say, like, more likely that you might do that yourself. Somebody doesn't just commit suicide because they read about it. People commit suicide because they have that mindset already. They probably are already struggling with their mental health. They're probably already having some interpersonal relationship issues. They probably have some self-esteem issues. They're probably depressed or something like that, and then when they get exposed to that type of media, that's when it sort of clicks with them. We can talk about this in the context of consuming triggering media. If you personally deal with something like triggering topics, if you have gone through something that is considered a very typical trigger warning subject, like for example eating disorders, depression, suicide, like a loss of a loved one, self-harm, that kind of thing. If you get exposed to media that has some of those elements in it, then that can end up triggering you. So, to get back to the actual question that was asked of me, can we blame violent video games for causing people to bully others, and should the video games be banned because of it? With this added context that I provided you with the comparison to classic literature, I personally think that people who do violent things, they already have that tendency within themselves, and if they get exposed to media that is violent in nature, then they might become more likely to act on those violent urges. The way I personally see it is that this could be very easily compared to like triggering topics in media. Like I said previously, triggering topics are not just something like that is harmful to you personally, but they are also something that if you get exposed to them, you can act in harmful ways towards others if you already have that tendency within yourself as a person. So yeah, to put it simply, I don't think that we can blame violent video games for like being the reason, like for like kids bullying each other at school. But if a child who already has those violent tendencies for one reason or another, perhaps they're being abused at home, perhaps they have a specific like temper type that is more susceptible to violent behavior, and then if they, on top of all of those things, on top of all of those characteristics that they already have, then they get exposed to violent video games, that might just be like the final nail in the coffin, or the catalyst, if you will. I think there's definitely room for discussion to be had on things like statistics, and like how common it actually is, like in reality, that kids who get exposed to violent video games and other violent media then also like end up acting in violent ways towards others, especially other kids. Me personally, I don't, at this very moment, I don't have any type of statistical information to give you guys, but maybe in the future we can talk about that more, because I definitely think that there's a lot of discussion to be had about that topic. It's just it's a very nuanced thing. I don't think that there is any sort of like black and white answer to this question, but yeah, again, thank you so much for sending this question in. It was very interesting to think about, and yeah, so thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question. One of you guys sent me this question. What are your thoughts on the idea of making a video regarding how romanticizing certain countries can lead to issues in those nations not being brought up often enough? This is a very interesting question, an interesting topic to discuss. I know that this person who sent me this question is from a country that very, very often gets romanticized and idealized, especially by the Western population. So I feel like this is probably a very personal matter for them. But yeah, thank you for asking me this question. Me personally, as you've probably guessed by now, I'm from Finland. I'm Karelian Finnish myself. So yeah, I was born and raised here in Finland, in the eastern parts of the country, to be more specific, and my ethnic roots are within the Karelian region and Karelian culture. So for that specific reason, I personally have not really come across all that much of romanticizing like my own country, because a lot of people just They tend to even forget that Finland exists, which is fair, I guess. This place is one of those countries that like that you know that it's there, but like you're not all that aware of it, especially like if you don't have any personal attachments to Finland, then you probably don't think about it. Like, it's a bit different if you're from another Nordic country, because we're part of the Nordics. But yeah, I can't really say all that much about that. Like, I don't have personal experience all that much about for people like romanticizing fucking Suomi, Finland, perkele. So yeah, but I do have a long history of being a major consumer and major fanatic and enthusiast of Japanese culture. This doesn't only include like Japanese popular culture, but Japanese culture as a whole. Like for instance, like Japanese cuisine is very close to my heart. I cook a lot of Japanese food for myself at home. And I'm also fairly familiar with Japanese history and Japanese traditional culture, and their roots in the Shinto belief system. So yeah, I can say that from a personal standing point, that Japan and Japanese culture gets romanticized to hell and back, especially by the Western audience, a lot of the times, and that definitely, I can see how that would end up in like end up resulting in like societal and systemic issues not being addressed well enough in Japan, because we as Westerners have this very romanticized and like very glamorized understanding of Japan as a culture and as a country, even though it has a lot of problems, a lot of issues, and Japan has a very problematic history and very violent history at that. And right now, like even in modern times, Japan is one of the most conservative countries in the world, especially in the East Asia region. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of societal problems that Japanese people face on a daily basis. We could talk a lot about the Japanese work ethic culture. We could talk about Japanese pride, especially like familial pride, and how that affects like Japanese people on an individual level. We could talk about the fact that Japan has one of the highest suicide rates in the entire world. We could talk about the rampant like homophobia and transphobia that Japanese queer people face to this day. Like there's a lot of issues there to be had, and me as someone who is a fan of Japanese popular culture, I have taken the initiative personally to familiarize myself with the ugly side of Japanese culture and society. Because I think that's the responsible and respectful thing to do. When a country gets portrayed as like this like heaven on earth sort of place, it can really blind our sight on all of the issues that country and the people living in it face on a daily basis. I can't personally really say all that much about it like on a personal level, because I am not from that type of a country. But if any of you guys are, if there's any more of you guys that are from East Asia in particular, I feel like East Asia is like right now one of those places that especially Western people definitely romanticize a lot. I would love to hear your perspective on things. If you are from an East Asian country or any other country that you feel like gets romanticized by people living outside of that country, and if you feel like you personally seen that sort of attitude and energy affect the way that societal issues get addressed or don't get addressed in your country, please tell me. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys, because I feel like that's definitely that's an important conversation to be had, especially if you have some type of an experience with bullying, either like as a victim or as a parent, a teacher, or even a former bully yourself. If you feel like these issues, these societal issues of Western people or other people outside of your country like romanticizing your country and your culture, if that results in like increasing rates of bullying in school or something like that, if any of that is something that you feel personally one way or another about, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, those are my personal thoughts on this question. So thank you again for sending this in for me. Okay then, moving on to the next question. Someone asked me this: how much do you draw now versus how much you drew before? This is a question related to art, and I always love those. Please send me more questions regarding art, because that's like my main thing here. I'm an artist first and foremost. Everything else sort of comes on the second place. Like all of the content that I make and everything, that's like secondary to my art. So please ask me more about my art. I would love to reply to those questions. I do want to say that my life has changed quite a lot in the recent year. My fiance moved in with me. They're an American immigrant. They moved to Finland in July of last year. So they've been living here with me for over a year at this point. We got engaged in May, if that's interesting to any of you. Um, so we've been together for over 4 years at this point, and we've been engaged for almost 3 months now. So yeah, but my fiance moved in last year, and my life has changed quite a lot because of that. My everyday routines changed a lot when my fiance moved in, and so did my working habits. I myself identified workaholic. I have a big tendency to overwork myself. I get completely addicted to work. That's one of the reasons why I ended up having that major burnout in university like all those years ago. So yeah, I definitely have those workaholic tendencies, and that definitely had a major impact on the way that I work and how frequently I worked. Because of my health, because of all of my health conditions, my medical team has told me that that the max amount of work that I should be doing by on a weekly basis is 10 hours a week max, because I am not really capable of doing more than that. And I want to say that before my fiance was living here with me, I definitely over exceeded that limit by like a tenfold or something. Yeah, it was a real fucking issue. It was a big problem. I spent a lot of my time just like working on new art and working on new content, like day in, day out. I pulled all-nighters and all of that kind of stuff. The sort of shit that you do when you are addicted to work. So yeah, I definitely had a huge issue with that, but I feel like now that things are changed quite a lot, they have changed for the better in every sense of the word. I feel like I don't draw nearly as much anymore as I used to, which is a good thing. Yeah, I still do draw every day, like something, at least like little doodles or fan art. I still make a lot of fan art, but I don't really share it anywhere because it's for personal reasons. Like I make fan art for the sheer fun of it. Like my artistic journey really begins with fan art. Like I'm not one of those people who have been like active participants and active members in the OC community, like original character community, like my best friend has. And I don't really have all that much experience with, like creating characters in general or writing storylines or something like that. Like my artistic journey is pretty much 95% of fan art. I owe everything to fan art, all kinds of fan art that I have done over the years. So yeah, fan art is like my way of sort of self-regulating. It helps me regulate my emotions, and especially if I'm going through like a hard time, if there's something that's like really upsetting me or something that's making me really depressed, I make a lot of fan art for that specific reason, because it fills me with joy, like in a different kind of way. So yeah, I can show you some of the things that I've been making recently in terms of fan art. This is probably stuff that a lot of you don't necessarily feel any way about, because it's for an old ass fucking show that used to be very popular when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. And I know that a lot of you guys are probably younger than I am, which is kind of crazy, because what the hell do you mean? What the hell do you mean? I'm not that young anymore. Yeah, anyways. Well, let me show you this. Yeah, this is a fan art piece of fan art that I made a few weeks ago. Yeah. This is Gregory House and James Wilson from House MD. Yeah. I used to be obsessed with this show when I was a teenager, and now me and my fiance have been watching it. It's their first time of actually viewing the show, like seeing it. I've seen it several times, but yeah. So I've been really into it again. So I've been making a lot of fan art from House MD, specifically Wilson, because he's my favorite character. I love him so much. So this is the kind of shit that I make like when I'm not working on like actual like relevant shit like in terms of my art. I can show you another one. Oh Jesus, fuck me. I can show you another one that I made. This is my journal. This is my very, very thick journal. It's a thick boy. I've been keeping a journal for around a year now, like regularly. I've been making entries on a very regular basis. I think this one is pretty cute. This is a spread that I made kind of recent, like a week ago or something. Here's Wilson again. This text is in Finnish, but yeah, I hope you can see him. But yeah, this is what I do on my free time. I make fan art of pretty and cute men. So yeah, very lesbian of me. Anyways, so that's what I do when I'm not working, like on like actual like relevant shit, like art. But yeah, so I do draw every single day. But a lot of the art that I make is not relevant to our project Death on a Paper in the slightest, because I need to take breaks. I want to say that right now I make work related art maybe like 3 days a week or something, if that. Yeah, because like I said, my life has changed quite a lot since my fiance moved in with me. So yeah, I don't make nearly as much art anymore as I used to when I was really, just overworking the shit out of myself. But this is just like for the sake of protecting my health and everything. That's all there really is to it. So yeah, I would say that yeah, my frequency of working on new art has decreased a lot. But that's a good thing. You don't need to be making art every single day in order to be an artist. Like, take those breaks and remember to rest. Remember that it's important not to draw all the time, even if you are a professional, and especially if you're chronically ill and disabled. You don't need to be working 24/7. You don't. Like, you need to take care of your health first and foremost. That's what I've been doing, and it's been good for me. Okay, moving on to the second to last question that one of you guys sent me over on Instagram. This is the question. Will you talk about how BPD and DID impact your life? So first, I want to correct this person. I don't have DID. DID is the acronym for dissociative identity disorder. I am not diagnosed with DID. However, I am diagnosed with OSDD, which is dissociative disorder otherwise specified. This specific dissociative disorder has symptoms from all of the dissociative disorders that do exist, like derealization and depersonalization disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and dissociative amnesia, and there was a fourth one, I think. But those are the main ones. So yeah, I am diagnosed with OSDD, so I have symptoms from all of the dissociative disorders, but not enough of symptoms from one single diagnosis in order for me to have that diagnosis. So instead, I am diagnosed with OSDD. Yes. Will I talk about how BPD and OSDD impact my life? Yes, of course I will, and I do that quite a lot already. But I'm guessing that this person sent me this question like specifically for YouTube purposes, because I made that distinction in the story post that I made on the monthly Q&A post, that this is going to be in the form of a YouTube video. So maybe that's what they were going for, and the simple answer to that question is yes. I don't know what kind of content, what kind of videos I will be making on these two illnesses that I'm diagnosed with, like specifically as of right now, but but because they both of them impact me on a very, very drastic level in my everyday life, I will definitely be talking more about that. Maybe we can make that like some type of a series, like a playlist sort of thing on YouTube. We'll see. But I'm happy to hear that you guys would be interested in learning more about these disorders that I am diagnosed with and how they affect me on a daily basis. So yes, that's the simple answer to that simple question. But yeah, again, I am diagnosed with dissociative disorder, otherwise specified not dissociative identity disorder. These are two different things. So yeah, just wanted to make that distinction there. Okay then. Okay, so we are at the last question of this monthly Q&A for August. This was sent to me by my lovely fiance, and they asked me, how do you feel now that you're focusing more on YouTube? Has that changed how you feel about your art and working in general? This is a very good question, and yeah, definitely it has changed the way that I feel about my art and about working in general. I made this change to be more active on YouTube instead of Instagram because Instagram has turned out to be a platform that just does not suit me anymore. It's really kind of sad because I've worked so hard to build that sort of community on there, and the sort of platform that I have. I know that it's not a lot compared to a lot of other content creators and artists, but it's still like having the number of over 20,000 people following me. That means a lot to me. But Instagram as a social media platform has changed so much that I feel like it just doesn't really serve my purpose anymore. I feel personally that my art and its message and my work in general is something that is more fitted for long form content than short form content. Jesus, if I could speak, that'd be great. So yeah, there's definitely that side of things that I feel like now that I'm focusing more on YouTube, I feel like I'm finally focusing on the kind of stuff that actually like is more fitting for me personally. As you can probably tell, I'm a yapper. I love to yap. I love to talk about things that interest me and that are important to me, specifically about the project and its message. So I feel like this change has definitely been good for me in that regard as well. The shift to focusing on YouTube instead of Instagram has also been good for my mental health. Instagram, as of right now, is a very volatile platform, I would say. Over the last few years, it has changed in a way that it's even more aggressive and abusive and violent than it was when I first had that major breakthrough in 2024. So that's definitely been a bummer. But I feel like the shift to YouTube has been better for my mental health as well, because like Instagram comment sections even under my posts are bad. They're really bad. And as someone with like severe and complex childhood trauma from bullying specifically, it's really difficult to deal with. It's very triggering, and it's very it's not good for me. It's not good for my well-being. So yeah. I also feel like the change to like making YouTube and just focusing on creating YouTube content instead of Instagram has given me a different type of motivation to work, because I get to do what I want to do, and I don't necessarily have to follow all of the trends and all of that kind of stuff, but I can just do what I want to do, and I know that the people who need my content, they will find me. So yeah, it's given me a new type of motivation to work. It's given me more of a purpose, like compared to what Instagram has been like. So yeah, it's been a great change, and I'm very happy that I made that decision, because I've really been enjoying quite a lot making these videos for you guys. So yeah, I hope that you will stick around here and see all of the other cool stuff that I have planned that I will be making on YouTube, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to make. So yeah, but yeah, that's about it. Okay then, that's the video. that's the video. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking the time to spend some time here with me today. And thank you to all of you who sent me those questions on Instagram. I want to remind you again that these Q&As are a monthly thing. At the beginning of each month, around like the first week or so, I will make that story post on my Instagram stories where I put the question sticker in, and then you can leave me your questions in the sticker. So please keep an eye out for those, because I will be making these Q&A videos on a monthly basis from here now on YouTube. So yeah, there's also a frequently asked questions section on the official website of our project Death on a Paper. I'll show it here on the screen so you can find it. Please read those questions there before you send me any of your questions, because they are meant to offer a baseline understanding of my work and of the project itself and what it all means and all of that kind of stuff, so that I don't have to explain everything like again and again every single month, because that gets very tiring. So please check the FAQ section on my website before sending in those questions. But yeah, everything else is pretty much like free ground. You can ask me anything that you want, and yeah, if I feel like answering that question, then I will. So yeah, but that's about it. That's the video. For my next like upcoming YouTube content, I am planning on making videos specifically for this time of year, which is the start of the new school semester. In Finland, students go to school here like in August, at the beginning of August. Like when we're talking about kids and teenagers. So this is the time of year when I start thinking about like going back to school and what that was like for me, and how I want to help kids and teenagers who are currently going to school and who are being abused by their peers. So I will make a series of videos on YouTube, like addressing all of that, like the beginning of the school year, and how we should deal with bullying. I'll make a video for one specific like demographic and a perspective on bullying, like when we're talking about school bullying particularly. I'll be making videos for teachers and parents, and then also victims, and then bystanders. Those are the video plans that I have for the series as of right now. There might be more in the future, but yeah, those are videos that you can look forward to. I'll be making the final speed paint for the chapter online, potentially next week. Because I desperately want to get rid of this chapter right now, because it's been so fucking long that I've been working on it and it's annoying me to hell and back. So I'll make the last speed paint for online, and then we can move on to new things in terms of the actual chapters of the project. So yeah, those are the things that I have planned on for YouTube right now. And on Instagram, I'll be taking a bit of a break, most definitely because of how the platform has greatly affected my mental health and my well-being in general. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with Instagram for right now, but we'll see how I feel soon enough. But yeah, that's the video. Again, thank you so much for spending some time here with me today and watching the video. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video before you leave. I would really appreciate that. My name is Ichigunya, and this has been our project Death on a Paper.